my point is when if you haven't read this before, what it is it's a study done by the three-letter agency itself, right?
Yeah.
It is going into its own assessment of the gateway process. So this is the documentation. I want to be clear on this because a lot of people fuck this up. It's them documenting how the gateway process works.
Mm-hmm.
All right? It's not necessarily the CIA saying this is what reality is.
Okay.
It's them saying this is their model.
Okay.
I think it's an important distinction because I want to get as close to truth as possible. And that's one thing I noticed is people try to sensationalize it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you read this document, you're looking at different bullet points. For example, I'm looking at bullet point 13, the part encodes the whole. Then there's this is the one I think you're getting at, part 14, the consciousness matrix.
Mm-hmm.
And so
the part encodes the whole was part of what I was skimming right past it. I'm going to zip it while you do this because you're like right on the money with your delivery of this, but that was part of it. A consciousness matrix, the part encodes the whole, which anyways.
I've covered that, the holographic. That's the holographic model.
Yeah.
We can cover that again. I think it's one of the most underrated models of the universe.
Yeah.
But I want to jump to consciousness matrix. I'm just going to read this. It's going to be a little bit dense, but I think it's important. That's why we're here, to go long form, right? So, yeah, number 14, the consciousness matrix. The universe is composed of interacting energy fields, some at rest and some in motion. It is, in and of itself, one gigantic hologram of unbelievable complexity. According to the theories of Karl Pribram, a neuroscientist at Stanford University, and David Bohm, a physicist at the University of London, the human mind is also a hologram which attunes itself to the universal hologram by the medium of energy exchange, thereby deducing meaning and achieving the state which we call consciousness. With the respect to states of expanded or altered consciousness, such as the gateway uses, the process operates in the following way. As energy passes through various aspects of the universal hologram, it is perceived by the electrostatic fields which comprise the human mind. The holographic images being conveyed are projected upon those electrostatic fields of the mind and are perceived or understood to the extent that the electrostatic field is operating at a frequency and amplitude that here's the key, can harmonize with and therefore read the energy carrier wave pattern passing through it. Changes in the frequency and amplitude of the electrostatic field which comprise the human mind determines the configuration and hence the character of the holographic energy matrix, which the mind projects it to intercept meaning directly from the holographic transmissions of the universe. Mm-hmm. And here's the last part. Then, to make sense of what the holographic image is saying to it, the mind proceeds to compare the image just received with itself. Specifically, it does this by comparing the image received with that part of its own hologram, which constitutes memory. By registering differences in geometric form and in energy frequency, the consciousness perceives, see Exhibit 2, as psychologist Keith Floyd puts it, contrary to what everyone knows is so, it may not be the brain that produces consciousness, but rather consciousness that creates the appearance of the brain. And I don't even think that was what you're talking about, but it was still interesting.
That was, phenomenal summary of that. That was badass.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I think you were getting it. It's actually way further down. They talk about the absolute and infinity.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that if I had to pick one of the most important things that I took away from the document itself, it would be that they have this diagram of and I need to start screen recording. I can just put this on the screen. But there is the paradox of, they call it clicked out and clicked in. Clicked out means the portion of oscillating energy which is traversing intermediate dimensions. And that's on the top side. And that's above 10 to the negative 33 centimeters. And then they have the portion of oscillating energy patterns in time space, which is what we experience. And then so it's a Planck distance on both sides of the absolute and infinity. And when I say both sides, we're talking about a wave. So this is really going to be really hard to understand if you're listening. I'm going to try and like visualize it, right? If you think of a wave, what we're saying is that there's an up and down on the wave. And when you get to the down and the up, you're clicking in and out. And the clicked out bottom portion is also an intermediate dimension. And so they say that what's happening is that you're clicking in and out so fast. And also interesting side note, what are we doing here? We're talking about things that are similar. Yogananda. Fuck, did I close it? No, I didn't. Yogananda is talking about cycles per second. And that being part of how this shit works. It's in here somewhere. It's so complex. But everything. Anyways, can't find it. The point is the declassified part about the absolute being paradoxically unity, being absolute stillness, but actually paradoxically absolute speed, infinite speed. But if it's infinite speed,
it's still.
There's exactly.